thank you very much. Yeah. So I guess to start with, I'd really like to thank Sammy for the invitation here today. As you said, we met a little bit over a month ago, and I thank him for the time that we spent discussing lots of things, actually. So thank you for that. And I just want to touch on Professor, very fantastic speech. Thank you very much. My takeaways from the speech were that keeping our money is the hardest part. Okay, we have to focus more on that. We have to be willing to learn. And we have to seek out that learning as well. Passive income is possible, and it's the way that we will get ahead. Financial independence is the future, and it's what we should be aiming for.
Lucky nose.
And then we need to discuss money, and money should be a goal amongst our family. Okay, so it's not something that we can have ourselves, it's something we have to work on together, constantly working on together. And we need a plan that starts today. And that's a lot about what I'm going to talk about. Is that how you can put that plan together, and I guess what it looks like. And if you need a holding hand, then you know where to come. The other really important thing that we heard was that not all assets are assets. Something that a lot of people really don't understand. It's something that I see all the time, and just I love to hear. It's a breath of fresh air to hear it again. We need to be buying assets that return us money. And therefore, we need to learn the difference between an asset and a liability. I love Napoleon Hill is one of my favourite writers, and I've listened to his books and read his books so many times, something I really, really recommend. We need to start by keeping track of our spending, knowing our net worth, and don't waste your money. We need to pay ourselves first to get ahead. And then, as I said again, family goals are the most important. And then finally, the compound interest is king, which is something that I'm going to discuss as well. But thank you very much, Chris. That was a fantastic speech.
Thank you.
So today, I'm going to take what we started with and make it maybe slightly more practical in our day-to-day lives. I mean, we've set ourselves up really well with what the Professor's given us. How do we then turn that into the assets that we're going to buy, those sorts of things? So a bit about me. I have to introduce myself, this is going to be fun. Look, my background, I am an engineer by trade. I studied at the Adelaide University, I have a Masters in Engineering. Didn't really enjoy it very much. Worked for 5 years at Submarine Corporation. Learned a lot of things. Learned a lot of things about how much I didn't really want to be an engineer. But that was just for me, okay? What I really love is property. I love investing, I love shares. I just love being in this space and actually being able to change people's lives with simple stuff that we're talking about every day. So really, as you can see from there, my career progression has been working at the Motley Fool, which is a share market company. So we do share market analysis, still do that. And right now, I'm a branch principal and a mortgage broker at YellowBrickRoad. We've got an office down in Brighton, and that's how Sam and I met. So that's me. So the title of today was Building a Financially Secure Future. But the question really is, and I had to think about how I was going to word this slide, is are you financially secure or are you wealthy? I think they mean different things to every single person, and that's really what I want to touch on today. So this is broadly what I'm going to discuss. Being financially secure is a really, really tough term to describe. There's no one definition for it, and financially independent is exactly the same. Financially independent to me, compared to you, compared to Sammy, is going to be very, very different. So, how do we achieve it, and how do we find out what financial independence means for us? Yes, the main reason why myself and the team that we have down at Brighton we're so passionate about this is because the people that we see every single day. The standard person that comes in and sees us, that's somewhere between the age of 40 and 55, they've got maybe 10 or 20 years of working life left ahead of them, but they've still got a huge mortgage, huge credit card, huge car loan, and you go, how on earth are we going to start building any wealth for you in the time that you've got left? And so that's why we're so passionate about it. Starting early is incredibly important. And also then, if it is a little bit far down the track, what are we going to do to get you back on track? Okay, so what does it mean to be financially secure? I've written some notes. I hope you don't mind. I've picked a few stats because I think they're really important to have a look at what, I guess, other people consider as financially secure, and then we can reference that back to what we think as well. So I'll get out of the way. So the first one's from the ABS, and the average household wealth of all Australians in 2013-14 was a little bit over $800,000. Now that includes your house. Okay, so if your house is worth, say, $400,000, then they've got about $400,000 in assets between a couple to live on. It sounds like a lot of money. But then when we look at the next point, we've got nearly 70% of Australians that feel like they're struggling to make ends meet. So if the average is 800,000, but 70% of people still think that they're struggling to make ends meet, what does that say? I think we need to be aiming for more than that. And the next stat was really interesting. This was from MLC as well. And it's really showing us that as your wealth, as your income increases, your desire to be more financially secure also increases. Okay? As you've got more disposable income, you start to think about more about what you can do with that money. Any questions on that to start with? I just think that's a really important point. It doesn't, as in, the more that you start to earn, it doesn't get any easier. And so a bit more about that. What else do we have? What other numbers do we have? The top 20% of Australians, so the 20% top wealthiest in the whole country, on average earn about $260,000 between them and have $2.5 million in net assets. I think most of us could agree that we could live on that. We could make it work? Yeah, okay. Even the next 20, $125,000 between a couple. So if you're both working, you're on $60,000 each, you're actually in the top 40% of Australians. Okay? And then really what it comes is taking your net assets up to a level that's well above that $830,000. The next 20%. I think this is where a lot of us start to think about. This is a single family, single household earner, 80,000 income, and about 400,000 in net assets. So this is what probably we should be aiming for. You know, if we've got a couple, 80 grand between them, we want to get to a point where you're above average for your bracket. Does that make sense? So if you're on 80,000 between you, we want to make sure you've got more. It's 463,000, because that means you're managing your money better than people in your position. Okay, cool. Here's how those assets look. So as you can see, as you get older, typically your wealth increases, if that makes sense. The large block along the bottom, pointer is not that one.
The middle one.
What pointer is that? I just can't see it. Can anyone see that?
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So these brown section down the bottom, that's your home. Okay, so you see how we said we've got a net worth of about 800,000. Of that, half of it is your home. That's fine, but your house doesn't generate any income. So when we're talking about assets and liabilities before, there is a method of thinking that says that your home, if it has a mortgage on it, is a liability. Because it's not generating any income for you, and it ends up being just like paying rent. Okay, but you're working towards an end. So a lot of what I discuss and a lot of what my strategies are with clients is to say we have to get rid of your home loan debt as quick as possible. Because once you get rid of that home loan debt, think about what you could do if you had no rent or no home loan. It tends to be a huge percentage of our weekly spend, and when we go back to talk about our budget, all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier to save 40% of our income if there's no home loan. The professor touched on buying within your means. Just because you can get a $500,000 loan might not mean that you should get a $500,000 loan. Maybe you should get a $350,000 loan, put the difference of repayments into that loan and pay it off in 10 years. Think about the holidays you go on. Think about the expensive cars you buy. Okay, so the really important thing here is that despite our net wealth being quite high, very little of it is actually generating any income for us in the future. This is all still going on about what does it mean to be financially secure. Is this really helpful? If we refer back to the previous slide, we've got age 75 plus. Who thinks that we're going to be living older than age 90 in the next, say, 30 years, the average age? I think that with medicine, the way that it's progressing, there's a very good chance that my generation will hit 90, 100, 110. So do you look at how quickly the assets are coming down from age 55 down to age 75. You're going to be left with nothing by the time you get to 80. So we need to be setting ourselves up better so that we can actually last through our 30 or 40 year retirement. Alright? Any questions, please throw them at me. But is this really helpful when we're talking about being financially secure? Does it matter to you what the top 20% of Australians earn? I can tell you it doesn't really matter a lot to me because I certainly don't earn that much yet. But it comes down to your goals. So like we said, what is important to you? With you and your wife, you're sitting at home, what are the things that really make you tick? Is having that Ferrari going to change your life? Or are you the sort of person who can get away with having a Toyota that lasts forever, doesn't cost you much to run, but it also means that you can go and have a holiday every couple of years? I mean, that's the lifestyle that I would prefer. I'm not so fussed on the cars. I would much prefer to be able to go, be it Monaco or the Gold Coast. I don't mind, but spending that time away with family, the quality time with family, that's what would be more important to me. And so I would prefer to spend any surplus cash I've got on holidays, for instance. Now then it comes down to your individual goals. Do you want it to be a $30,000 holiday every 2 years in Monaco? That'd be really nice, but it might not be realistic. Or are you okay with a $5,000 holiday at the Gold Coast? $5,000 buys you a lot of holiday in the Gold Coast, just so you know. So this is really the question that we should be asking. What does being financially secure mean to you? Now, we've done a couple of exercises. You've got a couple of pieces of paper in front of you. We've got four questions here. Okay, so let's just do a really quick exercise. 30 seconds. Step 1, do you want to own a home? Freehold, yes or no? Number 2, what is most important to you? Having new cars, going on lots of holidays, or having a holiday home? Question 3. This one is always harder. If you didn't have your home loan, how much money would you need to live on comfortably? For most retirees, just so you know, they aim for that $50,000 to $60,000 a year. Okay, $1,000 a year tends to be a fair bit of money when you're imagine on a holiday once a year, imagine to keep up with grandchildren, those sorts of things. But it might be $200,000 a year. There's nothing wrong with that. And the 4th question, what age do you want to stop working or slow down from working? Can't say tomorrow. We don't have that much time. I guess the other point there is, I guess if you're my age or a little bit older, the age that you stop working may be impacted on what happens with the government. The age pension currently kicks in somewhere between 65 and 67. The age pension was brought in at a time when the living expectation age was 60. Not many people actually got to age pension age. But now the living expectations are 80. Most people are getting there. So it stands to reason that we may see in the future that the age pension gets extended out to an older age or gets reduced. Because it's one of the things that the government is really struggling to pay. So you've got those 4 questions now. And that's the sort of thing which you can take home and just have a chat amongst yourselves. Because that gives you a baseline of what you can be planning for. That's the next question. Is it achievable? Of course it is. Of course we can do that. But we need a plan. Ideally, you need some income as well. It's going to make it really hard to achieve those goals without income. You might need some guidance and hand-holding. Let me know if you do. But step 1, my guess is that most of you have put yes down for question 1. Yes, you want to know. And so step 1, in my opinion, is get your house sorted out. And why? Why do we need to do that? Well, really, as we said, your mortgage or renting is just such a huge expense in your life. And it tends to be such a point of contention. We see couples all the time that they come to us, and we might see just the wife or just the husband, and they'll say, oh, just talk to me about the finance, because when we talk about it together, we just fight all the time. It doesn't work. It really, really doesn't work. So you both need to be on board with your goal. The other part of this is that things do happen. We have a very sad story in our office that's happened over the last year, where we had a client come in. Her husband passed away. Now her husband was very, very sad. He had lined up 4 properties in a row in Brighton that they were going to develop, and that was going to be their retirement fund. Just think about how much they could make from that development. You know, overnight, they could be worth $2 or $3 million and retire. Now, he's died suddenly, and his wife at the time has been left with these houses, mortgages, and no idea what the plan was. What do you think happened next? She's got nothing. Absolutely nothing. About 10 years later. So you have to be on board with the plan. You both have to be on board with the plan. If you don't understand it, and if you can't hand the plan over to your wife and say, please wife, can you please run this plan for me while I go and do something else, then again it's not going to work. So that's a really, really important part. It needs to be a team effort. So step 1, sort your house out. Here are some myths for you. Who's said any of these before? Ever heard anyone that you know say any of these?
Yes.
Until we tell you that you can't have a loan, ask. Okay? We so often see people just come in and say, I've spoken to my bank, they've said no. There are lots of other banks out there. So the beauty of not just going to your bank, but having a chat to someone that speaks to lots of banks, is that they'll actually be able to give you an unbiased view on who will take you. And often there is someone who will take you. And these myths are actually a serious problem. The reason why they're a problem is because of this graph. And this shows that home ownership is decreasing. And it's decreased fairly significantly over the last 30 years. There's a line in the middle which says all, and so it shows you that house ownership broadly actually has only dipped down a little bit. But for the younger generations, between 25 and 44, it says a 10% fall in home ownership. And that's a lot of because of those myths. Why is that happening? The media will tell us that home ownership is dropping because house prices have risen faster than our income. I would contend that in South Australia that's not really as much of a problem. Sydney, yeah, sure. You can't buy in Sydney, that's fine. But in Adelaide, there are so many places that are really, really affordable. Athol Park, where we are right now, there are still some extremely affordable houses around here, just north. Taking advantage of blips in the market is something that I see all the time. I think we should do more. I'll give you an example. Ridgehaven. Ridgehaven is a lovely suburb, and it's right next to Hope Valley. The same house in Ridgehaven will be worth you want your house, try looking for the suburb over, and you might be able to save yourself a couple $100,000. It sounds crazy, but it actually exists. Really interesting graph, this one here. This shows that we're saving more. So we were talking earlier about trying to get up to 10% of your income as savings. What this graph is showing us is that we're already doing that. And as a population, Australia is actually doing really well. And this is only over a really short time period, so it's going from 2003 to 2010. I know it's a little while ago, I contend it's probably higher now. The Australians are doing a fantastic job of saving. My challenge to you, now that we've said it's 10% mark, is actually going to be to increase that. And I think the point before about should we be spending our full 80% is a really interesting one, but the question shouldn't be, should I be spending my 80%? The question should be is, how do I get my budget below 80%? So if the budget I draw comes up and says I spend 70% of my income, you've got 20% to save. It shouldn't be then I've got 10% more to spend, if that makes sense. Okay, so young people are among the best savers. Compare yourself to your age group. Are you keeping it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. All exceptional savers is what I'd like to see. Alright, we're going to run through an example. You'll look 27 or 28, so this should work really well. This is a typical young couple. No kids at this stage. They're below the average income, 40,000 each. They're both working full time. They have no credit cards, they have no personal loans, and they've done a really good job over the last sort of 6 or 7 years to save up $15,000. And they come in and see me and say, how do we get into our first home? We've been reading all this stuff about building wealth and getting out of the rat race and then being able to build ourselves up so that we can actually hit retirement and be comfortable. How do we do it? We've only got 15,000. Okay, fair enough. Well, let's talk a bit more about what it's like. We've gone through the same 4 questions with this couple. They would like to own their $400,000 home by the time they're 45. So they've only given me 17 or 18 years to pay it off. Seems like a long time, but compared to 30, it's quite good. They'd like to retire at 65. Keep in mind they're probably going to live to 90, so they've got 35 years in retirement. And in terms of needs, maybe they share a car, or maybe they have 2 cars. But either way, they're going to replace one of them every 5 years. And they're only going to spend $10,000, so they just need something that's functional. You know what you can buy for $10,000 at the moment? I was looking the other day, you can buy almost a brand new Kia with a 7-year warranty for like about $10,900. It's crazy. Anyway, but the big thing for them is they want to go on holiday. $5,000 every couple of years. That's their big thing that they really want. It's something they can really work towards. So that's quite important to them. Fair enough. I said, you've managed to save $15,000. Really, really well done. But we're going to have to make some sacrifices. If you want your house, there's a level that we have to get to. Getting into your house is the hardest part if you have no support. If there's no parents there to be guaranteed for you, which there isn't normally, then you have to save. And so for this couple, what do we do? They're going to come to me, we want a $400,000 house, apart from, really, there's nothing out of the ordinary from it. And so I'd say, all right, the target we're going to aim for is $51,000 in savings. I should just jump back one. They've told me that they're renting for $300 a week at the moment, which is pretty reasonable. They've rented a unit, and they're spending $600 a week on living expenses. $2,500 a month. That seems like a reasonable amount of money to spend on your petrol, your groceries, your bills, all that, while you're renting. Okay, so we'll kick on. So I'm going to say that we need to get to 51,000, but there's going to be some sacrifices. For however long it takes for us to get there, I want you to sacrifice your holidays and your cars, but apart from that, keep doing everything you're doing. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
And we're heading towards something. How long do you think it would take a couple to get from 15,000 to 51,000? Throw some numbers at me. Actually, Actually, no, I'll do it even better. Who thinks it's going to take more than 5 years? Right? Oh, I need to see some hands. More than 5 years, okay. Between 4 and 5? Okay, right. Between 3 and 4. Right. Yeah, okay. Between 2 and 3.
No,
What about 1 to 2? Less than a year.
That's faith. Where are the faith?
Work on your maths. 1.5 years. Let's just recap. 40,000 income each. They're spending 300 a week on rent. They're spending 600 a week on their living expenses. The rest of it's going into savings. To go from 15 to 51,000 takes 80 years. And that's assuming a 3% interest on your money. So, which is nothing really. It makes no difference whether it's a grand scheme of things. So, that's good. That's very good. Yeah, 3% is good. I'll take that. So you're surprised? Surprised that it only takes, that's $36,000, in a year and a half, between two people earning 40,000. So yeah, I was really happy with that. Okay, so that is a good result. The good thing about that also is that we know it's going to take a year and a half, so they can start to do some planning. One of the biggest things that we see for people buying their first home is they'll get in it, and then they'll go to Harvey Norman and spend $10,000 on interest-free card buying couches and TVs and furniture, and you've just ruined all your good work. Like we said before, that's a liability. So the next 1.5 years, they're going to be keeping an eye out for bargains. We want some bargain couches. We want some good value desks and tables. Pick up a new TV if you really need a new TV. Those sorts of things. And then we're talking about setting up a plan. They want to pay their house off by the time they're 45. This is what a home loan strategy looks like. The grey blacky line at the top is how your graph looks if you pay minimum repayments for 30 years and you get there by the time you're, 58 in their case. The yellow line is their home loan strategy. The home loan strategy works in that we're doing some extra repayments into the home loan, but we're not changing anything that we were doing in the previous. So they're still spending $600. The $300 they were spending on their rent, that goes into the mortgage, and their savings, that also goes into the mortgage. So what you're looking at is there's a fairly faint grey line that's increasing. That's the amount that they're ahead of their home. What we're trying to set people up to do is we never want bad debt. So we don't want people taking out personal loans for cars. We don't want personal loans for holidays. Where does that money come from? It comes from the home loan. So you can see it's a jagged line. The strategy is allowing for a new car every 5 years and $5,000 every 2 years for a holiday. And you can see the home loan still gets paid off in 15 years. So in the space from age 27 and 28, it's taken them about a year and a half, so let's say 30, to get the deposit. They've got into their house. If they follow this plan, keep in mind their incomes will go up over the next 15 years. By the age of 45, they paid their house off. They're also building super while they do this because they have no choice other than to build super. But apart from that, they're directing all of their efforts into their home loan. And then at age 45, you're sitting with a fully paid off house, 2 good incomes, and a good super. This is a good situation. So just pause on the couple for a minute, and we're going to come back to it in a second. So, what strategies are available to you right now? Open a savings account. Where do you do your banking? Don't open a savings account in that bank. Go somewhere else. ING have a fantastic savings maximizer that get you 2.8, 3%, something like that. Just go and open up an account. It's free. If you end up using them for your everyday banking, you get free ATMs Australia-wide. Your choice. But your ability to save, I guess, this whole strategy talk relies on income. Sammy and I have spoken at length about how income is important and how we are protected, by God. But there So what can you do today to get in the right direction? Start a plan. You've just started a plan. You've just written down the 4 points of your plan. And so now we need to turn that into a dollar amount. I'll give you a quick example of how we can turn that into a dollar amount. If you've told me that you want $50,000 a year in income in your retirement, times that number by 20. So if you want 50,000, it comes out to $1 million. The reason why we do that is because you should be able to get a 5% return on your money. So that $1 million pays you $50,000 in income, just as a rule of thumb. So the target for what we're trying to get to, your $50,000 goal, is we need outside your house assets of $1 million by the time you retire. It sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. So how do we start? We start with 10%. If your budget comes out and says you're spending 80% of your money, that's fine. Start funneling your 10% somewhere. But what I'd like to see you do is every month increase that number by 1%. You'll find a way. The amount of people that are paying $140 for that phone bill is ridiculous. Have a look at VAYA, V-A-Y-A. You can get unlimited talk and text, 5 gig, $17 a month. There's really, really easy ways to save money. So if all you're trying to do is, let's say you're taking home $1,000 a week, your saving starts at $100. The next month we're going to increase that to just $110. It's just $10. And then what we want to do is try and add that 1% per month, ideally till we get to 30%. It's a huge number, I'm very aware of that, but these are the sort of sacrifices you need to make if you want to get ahead quickly or if you're trying to catch up in time. What else? Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, starting early makes all of the difference. This is this is an example for you. Someone gets a job at age 20. Maybe they're an apprentice carpenter, let's say. If they are able to save just $240 a week, which is $1,000 a week, and put that into savings, and they can consistently do that for the next 20 years, just $1,000 a month. Now there are going to be blips in that process, okay? But let's just say an average, $1,000 a month. And then at age 40, they've got kids that are moving into private schools. All of a sudden, anyone that's of that age will tell me it's impossible to save money in between 40 and 55. No? Maybe? Okay. What happens next? So, as you can see, their savings increase. This period through here is when they're putting in $1,000 before. Isn't it interesting that when they stop putting money in, the balance keeps going? This is the power of compound interest. I think it was Einstein. Was it Einstein that said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world? And so what we're talking about here is that over this time you've put in $12,000 a year or $240,000. Okay, but like we said with the $2, every little bit is cheaper. So over that time you've put in $240,000. When you stop putting in money, that $240,000 is worth, let's call it $350. Pretty nice. But then you put nothing in for the next 25 years, or 30 years as it were, and it ends up being worth $850,000. And that's just with 3% interest. Historically, the average interest rate's been between 6 and 8%. So, anything can happen. Now, the downside of this is if you start later. This is if you do the same thing between age 40 and 60. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, you're putting in that same $240,000, but in this case, at your retirement age, it's only worth $480,000. So it's a $400,000 difference because you're putting in the same amount of money 20 years later. It's really emphasising the point that starting early makes a lot of difference. So start tomorrow. Now, what about that couple that starts at age 40? How can they catch up? With interest rates low right now, compound interest has a lower rate. If we have $100 year, that $100 will generate $3. Next year, that $100 will generate another $3, but that $3 that happened last year will also generate 3% of $3, which I can't remember what that is. If that number is 7, that number increases very, very quickly. Okay, so that compounding is very much influenced by the interest rate that you get on your savings account. So, if that couple starts at age 40, they have to put in $1,800 a month instead of $1,000. So you're putting in nearly double in order to get to the same result. Nothing wrong with that. But it's point of, if you're at that point now, you need to start and figure out what it is. And also, like I said, when you're between the ages of 40 and 60, it does become quite hard to save money. So my dad tells me. And then we're going to jump back to our example couple. So in this case, we've paid the home off at age 45. They haven't put any other money into savings up until that point. Now, financial planners out there, okay, I did my financial planning qualifications. I'm not a financial planner. We have financial planners. They might say that perhaps during that time they should direct some money towards savings and some money towards saving. I'm all for that, but in my case, I prefer to see the home loan go on because it just gives you so much flexibility. If you think about it, you get to age 45, all of a sudden you lose your job. These things happen. If you are without a mortgage, how much stress are you going to be when you lose your job? You know, this is not great, but I know that me and my family can actually live on the Centrelink because we don't have a mortgage. So just something to think about. So this is our example company. They pay the house in 45 years, and they're going to direct those same repayments that they've been putting in there for the last 15 years into savings. And have a look at it. Last year last two examples we went out to age 70. This is going to age 65, and we're well over $1 million. So it's really, really possible. And this is the power of compound interest. And on top of this, you've got superannuation. And so by the time they get there, it's going to be worth a great deal of money to it. And then finally, what are your success milestones? So, what are the little bits along the way that you reward yourself with? Holidays are obvious ones, cars are obvious ones, but it should be a case of every year you should be getting to the end of it and giving yourself some kind of reward that you've made another step towards your goal. So that's going to be very personal as towards what you guys want to do, but that's something that I really, really recommend. That's actually all I've got to say. But there's a lot of content here. So, you've got some questions?
Yeah, you mentioned that you don't open a savings at a bank that you... I didn't really understand. Yeah, so if you can explain that statement very well.
My thoughts are that if you've got your savings somewhere that you can see them every single day, you're more likely to draw from them. I know it's simple, but even if it's just in an IG account which you have to go to a different website to log into, it's just that little bit harder to get money out of it. So, the other reason is, let's say you go out on a Saturday night and you have a couple of red wines and you decide that you want to buy another bottle, but your savings say no, or your budget says no. It's not as simple as jumping into the app, transferring money from your savings account into your everyday account, because it takes a day to transfer from ING to your bank account. So that's it. It's just a self-control thing.
I think it's true. I had ANZ account and I opened NAB, and because it was NAB, I forgot about the password to log on.
Exactly.
And it was a pain to go to the branch to go and change it. I couldn't touch all the money.
Yep.
But I think about a couple of weeks ago that I went there, 4 weeks ago that I went there to change the password. Now I'm able to go there and withdraw some money.
So yeah, I'm glad that makes sense. So other questions?
But my question is, if you are a single parent, is it possible to apply like as a single parent?
Do you have an income?
Yeah, say you earning around 60,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you've not started earning.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Of course it's possible. Well, at the end of the day, if you come
I'm doing
your
something.
situation,
Let me
there's
finish.
going to be a maximum amount.
Do you need to draw?
That's the number I can give you, and then it's up to us to say, is that enough in order to buy your home? If not, maybe you buy an investment property first. There are other strategies. You could keep renting where you are because it's nice and cheap, but you could buy an investment property somewhere else potentially, and then you could aim to pay down that investment property as quickly as possible. At that point, you've got rental income coming in that you're not paying anything for. Okay? This is a slightly different strategy.
My question is about African immigrants, so you may probably find it difficult to understand it or to explain it. But if we take like the Aussie families, most people will get into this property market by age 25, 20, maybe 22, 23, 24, 25. They are already in. So like giving the example, they started planning at 27, so by the time they get to 45, they finish paying off the loan. But a lot of African immigrants arrive late. So maybe they get in around 35 years. It is now that they are going to build up, like a deposit and all that. So by the time they are able to buy their first home, they are 40 years already. So what is the hope for people like that?
I have the same question at times from Indian immigrants as well. So we have a lot of Indian clients as well, and they have the exact same issue. Now, they typically have some assets back home as well, which they leave there. So then it's a matter of, okay, we know you've got assets elsewhere, so we're not starting from zero. That's important. If you start your home buying at age 40 or 45, that's fine. We just need to make sure it's paid off by the time that you retire. So you're still going to be generating income from your assets back home, I would imagine. You'll be generating super, building up through those years. And typically, if you're 40 to 65, that's the time when you earn most money anyway. So it's not a terrible time to get into the market, in my opinion. But you've just got to start. Same thing happens for Australians that get divorced. Okay, so the amount of, for example, male divorcees that come to us, they've lost a lot of what they've built up over the last 30 years to their wife, and they're starting again at age 40. It is what it is. We get on with it.
But the problem is, whilst an Aussie person who never got divorced will be able to finish paying off all this at 45, an immigrant who started at 40, by age 60, you still have not finished paying off the.
Well, why not? That's still 15 years. If we start at 45, we can pay it off at 60.
Your plan.
Yeah, we don't want to have a 30-year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to ask this question concerning savings. Would you recommend that we have different, let's say, categories of savings account? Let's say saving towards maybe by the end of next year, I want to start this project, so I'm saving this, let's say, $200 every month towards it, or I'm saving like in case of emergency. When it comes to savings, okay, I know that I have to put, let's say, 20% of my income down, but am I doing it in case of an emergency or, towards a project?
I would say that those things fall into your budget. Okay, so they fall into your 80%. Your 10% is your ongoing growth. So that's going towards it's going towards something which is going to generate some income for you. Whereas I would suggest that if you're saving up funds for an emergency, maybe open up a separate account in your everyday banking called emergency. We've got clients who have, say, 4 accounts. General stuff, so that's your groceries and your bills and that sort of stuff. They'll have an emergency fund, they'll have a savings account, and they'll have a, kids' school fees, for instance, because they can come out once a year and you need a budget then for the full thing. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I would suggest that unless that project is going to generate you some income, that project should live within your budget in the 80%.
Right, thank you.
And Andrew, to see you for a discussion or an advice, do we have to pay something to come for a chat?
No, having a chat costs absolutely nothing. Okay, so the way that YellowBrickRoad works, the whole idea, we're a big company by the way, started in 2008. It's about 200 odd franchise in Australia wide. But the whole idea is that every Australian deserves quality financial advice affordably. Right? Coming and have a chat costs nothing. If we do your home loan, again, it costs nothing. This strategy. That strategy is part of the home loan service. Okay, that still doesn't cost you anything. We get paid by the banks. It comes out of their profits, not out of your loan. That's how that side of it works. If there's some more serious financial advice required, so you want to invest in shares, you want to change around your super, those sorts of things, the guys that we've got in the office will either try to get paid from the companies that we work with, or they'll charge you a fee. But that's much later down the track, and we tell you before we do anything what's going to cost us, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it costs absolutely nothing to change.
What of the first home buyers grant that the government gives? Is it substantial to help you with their
Yeah, it really is. It's something you should consider. First time grant is $15,000 for a brand new house. So that applies to houses that have got have either a house and land packages, or they are just built and no one has lived in them. If that makes sense. So you have to be the first person.
So those are the qualifications you have to meet before you can get a grant.
A resident, can't have owned a property before in Australia, those sorts of things. You can have owned an investment property.
Cool.
So that's the money. If you buy your investment property first, you'd still be eligible with a couple of clauses that you should still be able to get the first time grant when you then buy your first home to live in.
Okay.
Andrew, in terms of investment property, do you think it's a good idea to keep? How long do you think one should keep that investment property in interest-only payment mode?
The strategy that we set up a lot of the time with our mortgage clients is to say that, let me ask you a question. If you've got investment property debt and you've got home loan debt, which one would you want to pay first?
The home loan.
Home loan debt. So ideally, your investment property will stay interest only as long as you've got a home loan. Because any spare cash, any principal that you're paying off should be coming off your home loan. That's normally the strategy that was set up. So at that point where that home loan gets paid off, you would then turn one of the investment properties to principal and interest, and you'd start to knock that one down. If you can funnel your home loan repayments plus the rent into one of your investment properties, it's amazing how fast the debt goes away. And talking about compound interest again, compound repayments, you might pay that investment property off in 5 years.
And in that case, is it not a risk for you holding that, and let's say you want to get rid of it? If you want to get rid of your investment property and it's on interest only, it means that for, let's say, for the 3 to 5 years, you've been paying interest only, so the principal is still pending. And now you want to get rid of it, but you are not getting the same value on the market like.
The interest only has no bearing on the value of the house. Okay, so you've got a house in Athol Park, you bought it in 2010, in 2015, it's gone from 400,000 to 450,000. If your loan stays at 300,000, so all that changes is the amount of equity that you've got in there increases. So the fact that you're paying interest on your payments makes no difference to the value of the house. It just means that if you went to sell it, you know that's the debt you'd have to repay.
But if you are in interest only, do you get equity in the building?
Yeah, of course.
Apart from
it's your property. Yeah, you own the property, you're just not paying down debt. But it's your property. So if it goes up 50,000, that's your 50,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think there is another advantage, because if you have the interest only, the interest that you're paying will become like, compare the interest to maybe the income that you get, the losses that you're going to make, more like negative gearing, like you say, which will go to reduce, the taxes that you pay. So I think if you have the income,
the idea also is that your home loan repayments should stay about the same.
Yeah.
Your rent should increase over time, so then the rental repayments should be able to
But assuming you don't have negative gearing issue, and then now your interest payment has become higher than the home loan, the rent you're getting, how are you going to deal with that? Because maybe there's an increase in interest that has become bigger than the rent that you're getting.
So then it comes down to why you bought the investment property in the first place and what your investment property strategy is. Because if you've gone in with a neutral gearing strategy and then all of a sudden it's very negative, you need to check your budget as to whether you can afford that $20 or $50 a week difference. And that has to fit into your budget as well. Yeah, 100%. But you're right, it's always a risk. And that's why in this graph, we're not talking about a home and an investment. Because by doing things really simply, you can still get the end result. We've done the most simple strategy ever. Pay down home loan, put the rest of it in cash, and they still end up with $1 million. So we haven't invested in insurance, we haven't invested in property. We haven't used any extra leverage.
So Andrew, we were talking about a house. So for instance, if the church wants to acquire a land and build their own everything, because they don't have something called income, which is something that they pay, but they have something more of like a fund based on the offer they receive. Would their process follow the same? Or you look at it from a different perspective?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I give a comment? Yeah. I think there's one thing that you mentioned which ties in with what I also talked about saving you 10%. Okay. So if you save 10%, that is fine, but that should not be your tag, the maximum. So you try for the next period to increase it by 1%. And where is that 1% coming from? If you are able to reduce the controllables, you'll be able to have that 1% extra savings. I think that's an important point which I'm going to apply to myself.
Even some of those fixed costs, you can change. They're not necessarily fixed. Yeah, just have a look at it. Have a very hard look at your budget. Thank you very much.